Welcome to the latest episode of the Real World Nutrition Podcast. This is episode 212, Seafood Myths and Misinformation. Everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Real World Nutrition Podcast. I'm Shelley Rael, registered dietitian nutritionist, and today is part one of a two-part episode series on seafood. And today I'm addressing myths and misinformation because when it comes to seafood, there's a lot of confusion. Some people eat it a few times a week, while others avoid it entirely because of fear from what they've heard, such as mercury is toxic. Well, mercury is toxic, but the mercury in fish is harmful, or that farmed fish isn't safe. The goal today is to look at what's true, what's exaggerated, and what's completely off base. But first, I want to start with what counts as seafood. When most people say seafood, they're thinking about fish, salmon, tuna, maybe shrimp. But seafood includes a much wider range that includes fish, what we call fin fish, shellfish, mollusks, clams, oysters, and mussels, crab, lobster, and even squid and octopus. It's easy to forget that seafood simply means edible aquatic life. So this includes anything that comes from the water, whether it's an ocean, lake, river. So it includes freshwater fish like trout and catfish, not just the saltwater species. Now, overall, seafood provides high-quality protein. Certain types are great sources of omega-3 fats and vitamin D, and it does offer a variety of other vitamins and minerals like selenium and iodine. So these nutrients that I specifically listed play key roles in brain health, heart health, and help minimize or reduce inflammation in the body. Yet despite all these benefits, many people in the U.S. don't eat enough seafood. The dietary guidelines recommends 2 servings per week, or about 8 ounces total, but most people fall short of that. So why is that? Well, it's a variety of reasons of they don't like the taste, may have an allergy, or they don't know how to prepare it. Now, I'm not going to be able to fix the taste or the allergy thing. How to prepare it, it's just going to vary on what you're doing. And it's really hard to mess up fish. I should say it's more likely people will overcook it than undercook it. But really, a lot of things you can look up the type of fish you're having, and it can tell you the time and temperature for that particular fish you're having. So I want to address the myths more specifically. So the myth number 1 that I hear most often is that seafood is loaded with mercury, or if you eat too much, you're at risk of mercury poisoning. But here's the real story. All fish contain some mercury, but the amount depends on the species and where it lives in the food chain. Honestly, a lot of our foods contain small amounts of substances like these, but it's such small amounts, it's not going to have a significant impact. But with mercury, it builds up over time. So in the fish, it'll build up over time, especially in the large predatory fish like shark, swordfish, king mackerel, and tilefish. And those are the ones that tend to make the avoid list, especially for pregnant women and young children. Now think about this: shark, swordfish, king mackerel, and tilefish. Have you ever had that? Do you see it offered on menus or at your grocery store? And how often are people eating these specific ones? I can tell you how many times in the last 30 years I've had swordfish. Never had shark, never had king mackerel, never had tilefish. So the fish that are at the higher risk are usually ones, at least in the United States and North America, are not common on menus or in our homes at the grocery store. So here's what's often missed. People hear about, mercury in fish, but the majority of the commonly eaten fish, like salmon, shrimp, cod, even canned like tuna and catfish, are really low in mercury. So you can safely include these in your diet several times a week, even if you're pregnant, even if you have a small child. Safely include these several times a week. So if you're having it 2-3 times a week, you are not likely going to have an issue with mercury toxicity. I would say not likely. It would be really astronomical if you did have mercury toxicity. And here's the other part. The benefits of eating seafood outweigh the potential risk for most people. So in pregnancy, these nutrients from fish are super important. Omega-3 fatty acids, especially EPA and DHA, the ones that are found in fish, help with brain and heart health, can help lower triglycerides, but also help with brain development during pregnancy. So this idea that you should avoid seafood altogether because of mercury, even if you're in that higher risk population, is really misinformation. The key is choosing a variety of seafood and being aware of the higher mercury species. All right, myth number 2. Fresh is always better than frozen. Now, here's another big misconception, that fresh seafood is better than frozen. And the truth is, unless you caught that seafood yourself or know the person who caught it, fresh often just means previously frozen. Many types of fish are frozen right after they're caught, sometimes even on the boat to preserve freshness. So this means frozen fish is probably what you've been eating, but it can actually be just as good or better than what's sitting in the so-called fresh case at the store. I shouldn't say so-called, in the fresh case at the store. So even in that fresh case, if you look closely, it might say previously frozen. And here's the other thing. Frozen seafood can be more affordable, have a longer shelf life, and help reduce food waste. So it gives you flexibility to include seafood more often without worrying about spoilage. So if you buy the fresh from the fresh counter and take it home and then end up not using it for a couple of days, it will be spoiled or not likely be edible, and you're going to end up throwing away. Where frozen, you can take it out when you need it. So again, the main thing is to check the label. If the package says previously frozen, it means it was thawed before sale. Check the label. So that would be where the price is at the grocery store. And you want to cook it soon. So if something's been defrosted, if it was previously frozen, you don't really want to refreeze it. So frozen seafood can be a great option for convenience, nutrition, and cost. Now, myth number 3, and I'm putting these in the order of when I hear them. Farmed fish is not so healthy. It's unhealthy. So I want to talk about farmed fish because there's a lot of misunderstanding here. Fish farming, or what is called aquaculture, has come a long way. The quality and safety of fish depend on where and how it was raised, similar to land-based farming. Many people think wild caught automatically means better, but it's not always the case. Farmed fish like salmon or tilapia can be higher in omega-3s and other nutrients, low in contaminants, and produced sustainably. So responsible aquaculture helps meet the global demand for seafood without overfishing the oceans. So there's certainly a difference between countries in terms of regulation and environmental practices. So if you're buying farmed fish in the US, Canada, or Europe, you're generally getting a well-regulated product. I don't know enough about other countries to give one way or the other on it. So those are the 3 big myths that I hear. So to wrap this up, some takeaways here. Eat a variety of seafood to balance nutrients and minimize mercury. So maybe tilapia, tuna, salmon, shrimp. Don't fear frozen. It's the most practical option. And again, if you didn't catch it yourself, you probably are getting frozen anyway, even if it's been defrosted when you buy it. Farmed fish can be safe, nutritious, and sustainable, and sometimes are higher in those nutrients that we want and lower in the contaminants we don't want. And then try to include about 2 seafood meals per week, or about 8 ounces total, so you can have the packet of salmon or tuna for lunch one day and then a grilled fillet another day, or baked fillet. So seafood is a valuable part of a balanced diet, an important part of the balanced diet, and the myths shouldn't stop you from enjoying it. Now, on a quick side note, I mentioned allergies earlier. Allergies to seafood are 2 distinct classifications: fin fish and shellfish. So people can eat fin fish and not shellfish, or some people can have shellfish and not have fin fish. So if somebody says they're allergic to seafood, they may not be allergic to both types, but not everybody understands that. All right, so with that, next week's episode continues this series with part 2, seafood and sustainability. So I'll talk about what sustainability actually means, and when it comes to seafood, how to buy responsibly, and what labels to look for to really tell you whether you're getting a responsibly sourced seafood. So if you found this helpful, share it with somebody who might still be confused about seafood, insists they don't eat seafood because of mercury, and come back next week for the next episode in this series. And if you want to look at the link in the show notes, you'll find links to the blogs that I have related to these episodes. Next week's I'll have all 3 of the blogs related to these episodes. And with that, thanks for listening to this episode. Take care and bye for now.